Good morning, you guys. I would like to make a video about friendships and boundaries and maintaining friendships and choosing friends because in the last few years I made a decision that I wanted to have more female friends and started having more female friends. And um, in that process, I feel like I've grown and I've learned things, and I made some friends, and some friends I didn't get to keep. There were some times when I ended a friendship, and there were other times people ended a friendship with me. The way I look at my friendships is I look for a few things. That's just kind of me sharing. I look for people that are in a growth mindset. I used to pick friends that were um, not fully empowered, let's say. So the last few years, I've made a decision that I will no longer be friends with women who are repeating traumatic patterns, like they keep going after certain kind of men that hurt them, or women that are drinking a lot or inauthentic. So I'm looking for healthy women that don't need me to pay for them, that have something going on, that have a growth mindset, that live a pretty much sober lifestyle. And I have been meeting women like that. Um, Unfortunately, though, they're all single. I would like to have some more women friends who are married, and also more women of different age groups, because my friends all tend to be younger than I am. But here's the thing I wanted to say, that I've learned a few things about friendships is that for me, I see a friendship as something to invest in, and I don't drop my friends because we have a disagreement. I want to learn how to express myself in friendships, but I have ended friendships because the women were like partiers, or yeah, if they drink a lot, I pretty much end the friendship. Or if they're always complaining, but otherwise I try to work things out. But I noticed that some women have a very difficult time with repair or working things out when they get triggered. And sometimes in a friendship, you might get triggered, and some people have a hard time expressing themselves when they're upset with me, or handling it when I express myself. And so I want to say, as a background on that um, I want to be in friendships that where I can express myself and other people can express themselves too. And when I express feelings, I'm talking about I statements. This is what I like. This is my boundary. Not yelling or ranting or putting people down. So I just want to be clear that when I say expressing, I'm talking about sharing. I'm not talking about reactivity. Okay. So I have had people end their friendships with me, and because they, well, there are several ways to end friendships, right? I have had in the last year 2 ladies end their friendships with me, and they did it in a very powerful way. Like, I really enjoyed knowing you. I don't want to be friends anymore. Um, uh, and they didn't block me or anything like that. So that's fine. Not everybody is for me. I'm not for everybody. Um, I, that's totally fine. And I've had other ladies ice me out or cut me off when I made a request or stated a boundary. And so the 3 I'm thinking about now, where they ended the friendship when I expressed a boundary, those are the ones that I'm having a harder time understanding, because if someone just decides they just don't enjoy my company anymore for whatever reason, that's one thing. But to end a friendship because I expressed a preference for something makes me realize something else is going on, that some people have a very difficult time understanding boundaries, and some people have a very difficult time regulating their emotions, and they take things very personally and they get very easily hurt. So one decision I made is, with all my new friends going forward, I'm going to have a discussion with them about friendship, about their understanding about boundaries and consent, what hurts their feelings, how they want to repair, and to let them know I'm not going to run away from this friendship. If there's something that bothers you, please tell me. I want to set the groundwork and the foundation. And I have a meeting with a few friends coming up in the next week, and I'm going to have this conversation with them. What are the things that trigger you, so that I know I don't want to, I want to be aware of things that trigger you. Like, I have a friend who hates it when I'm late. It's very upsetting to her. So with her, I make sure I'm always on time. Stuff like that. I think that's important to know, because I want to nourish my friendships and I want to grow as a person, and a good way to grow is in relationship. And since I don't have a boyfriend to practice on, I'm practicing with my female friends. When it comes to boundaries, I learned about boundaries at the cuddle parties. I think I had made the video about my Pilates instructor, and then there was another lady that I was friends with. I gave her a boundary, and she, but I wasn't mad. I wasn't mad. I just told her, this is a boundary, a topic I don't want to discuss with you, but I respect your decision to have a difference of opinion on this. And the next thing I got was this long email tirade telling me what a horrible person I was, really just ranting at me. And then she made a long video on her YouTube channel ranting about how horrible women are. And it just kind of came out of nowhere, because when she sent me the long rant email, I just emailed her back and I said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. When you cool off and you want to talk about it, let me know. And 2 days later was that long YouTube video and saying this individual, and I cut her off. So I just emailed her back and I said, I accept you cutting me off and I wish you all the best. Like, I'm not mad at her, but I could see that she felt really provoked by me having a boundary. So did my Pilates instructor. And so did this other lady earlier this year, last year. I gave her a boundary around, hey, I really love spending time with you. This was more of a sandwich boundary, something nice, then the boundary, and then something nice. That one I had said, I really enjoy spending time with you. I don't like getting all these good morning texts, but I really look forward to seeing you again, hanging out with you, or if you want to ever have lunch or something. And the next thing I know, she's like, we're just too different. We can't be friends. Oh yeah, there was another gal like that got really upset with me. She was helping me find someplace else to live, and I told her I didn't like this particular neighborhood, and she got really triggered and said, we're just too different. We can't be friends. So, I guess, that's fine. People can do that, but I'm like, okay, I look at friendship a little bit differently than that. And also, I have the tendency, just sharing here, that if I go off on someone and lose my temper, which the last time I did was with my sister a couple years ago, I apologize immediately. Like, I will apologize within the next couple minutes, or at most the next morning when I wake up, I will apologize. But none of these people apologized. They just thought it was okay. So I guess, whatever. But I find that very interesting. And so this video is kind of about friendships and repair. Because if you're never in an argument with your friend, it's your friend, you're phony, or your friend is phony. Okay, that's what I want to tell you. If you're never in an argument with someone or disagreement, I'm not saying like a blowout, and I'm not saying that, but If you're never disagreeing with someone, one of you is being phony, because people don't always see the same things. People have differences of opinions, different ways of handling things, different ways of seeing the world. And so you're going to have disagreements. They can just be like, oh, well, I disagree with you. Or some people get super triggered. But I look for people who are really easygoing, but you're going to have disagreements. And the key is, are you able to repair? And is this person someone that you want to repair with? So one thing that really helps me, I want to share a couple things that in my mindset that really helps is, one, I see a friendship or a relationship as a third entity. So that way it's a little bit removed. Like there's me, there's you, and there's our relationship. And I see the relationship as something that I want to nourish by giving it attention. And relationships need attention. So they need phone calls, time together, empathy, caring how the person feels, being there for them, some personal sharing. You know, they need attention, but they also require some boundaries. And a boundary is just a preference. It's not an attack on you. So I think some people get really triggered around the word boundary when I use the word boundary. And it's unfortunate because that's the word I want to use. A boundary is not a wall. A boundary is just a request that I have that has to be respected. And I can have a boundary around anything. I learned about boundaries at cuddle parties. I didn't learn about boundaries until much later in life, to be honest. And I used to take things personally also. So I think this video is important. So what I learned at the cuddle parties, they were like sensual play cuddle parties to learn consent and nonviolent communication. So there was some sexy play, but the whole idea was to learn about boundaries. So for example, if I want to touch somebody's arm, like say, you know, it's a sensual play party. So here they give the example. If I want to touch somebody's arm, I might go up to this woman and say, may I touch your arm? Or I'd like to touch your arm. Or no, can I touch your arm? And she might say, yes. So then I can touch your arm, okay? But what if she says no? She doesn't have to give any reason at all. She can just say no. Now, there can be a lot of reasons she says no, and they don't matter, okay? So this is what I want to teach you about the no. First of all, a no doesn't need a reason. She doesn't have to say no, but, and make excuses. She can just say no, and her no has to be honored and cherished. And if she says no, then I say, thank you for taking care of yourself. So we practice that. And when I had some self-love meetup groups in my home, I practiced that with people, and it's very fulfilling when I tell someone no and the person doesn't punish me or berate me or ice me out, and they just say, thank you for taking care of yourself. That is so heartwarming. And so it's a great gift to give to someone when they share a boundary and you say, thank you for taking care of yourself. Thank you for letting me know that's how you feel. Because it's really hard for people to say no. It's really hard for a lot of people to say no. And, but the thing is, when they say no, it's not necessarily personal. Here are some reasons someone might say no. They don't want their arm touched because they just had like a shot in their arm and their arm is sore. Maybe their arm is just very ticklish and they don't want their arm touched. They rather have their hair stroked. Or maybe they don't like you because you remind them of their dad or their mom that they don't get along with. Or maybe they just don't want anyone close to them right now. Has nothing to do with you. So the key is to not take it personally, but to see the no as that person's expressing something that they need. And in these types of communities, there's a lot of emphasis on taking care of yourself. So for example, if you're doing something with someone and you're thirsty, it's okay to get up and get some water. It's okay to go to the bathroom. It's about taking care of yourself while being respectful to other people. That was really the biggest thing I got out of those cuddle parties, and that has been a great gift that I've taken forward into my sessions with my clients and in my friendships. And what I notice is a lot of people have difficulty saying no because they're afraid of the response. Because often the response from the other person is um, disregarding their no, trying to keep talking them into being a yes, um, shaming them for their no, rejecting them for their no. And a lot of people have learned to not speak up because of all the negative. They're bracing themselves for an onslaught of negativity. But I kind of got, that's what I was worried about at first. Like, if I say no, is this person going to get mad at me? Are they going to just manipulate me and keep telling me I should be a yes? But over the years of saying no, I've become more comfortable in expressing my boundaries. And when I'm with my clients, I'm always like, okay, tell me what you like and don't like. And when they tell me no to something, I say, thank you for letting me know. Because in this time with us together, I want to know what you like and what you don't like so you can really enjoy yourself. I don't want any fakiness. Because if I'm not a safe space for you to tell me no, then you're going to have to be fake with me, and I won't know who you really are. So I want people to be real with me. And it's hard to be real with people if we don't feel safe, that they're going to go off on us. Also, if you never tell me no and you're always yes, 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 I don't know if your yeses are real. If you never tell me no, I don't know if your yeses are real, because now you're just a yes person. You're a people pleaser. Okay? The other thing about the no's is that you can also say, okay, can I touch your arm? No, I don't want my arm touched, but would you stroke my hair? You can redirect like that. But some people, when they hear something I don't like, they take it personally, like it's an attack upon them. And I think it's just because they don't understand what it means to take care of ourselves and to have boundaries. And this last thing that happened with this friend of mine was that I gave her a boundary around the religious discussion. I don't want to discuss religion with you. That's a boundary. And she got very, very offended by that. And then she laid out all these other things she was mad at me about that I wish I would have known before. But I was showing the emails to a couple of my friends, and they both said, oh my gosh, if it hadn't been that thing, it would have been something else with this person, because you didn't say anything really upsetting. And that's the case with all these three ladies. I didn't say anything upsetting. I think it would have been, and that's why I think it's really important to have these discussions with our friends and test out our friendships, because I'm really looking for friendships right now that I can invest in and grow in. And while I wasn't heartbroken over losing these three friends, I didn't. One of them, the one I was a little bit sad over, but not the two recent ones. I can't grow as a person in friendship if people can't handle boundaries and discussions, and they want to run away when they get upset with me, and they get upset very easily, and then they want to run away. Like, I want to have some friendships that can last the test of time, but I want to have real friendships. I want to have authentic friendships. I want to have friendships where we can really be honest and share who we are and express our feelings and express our boundaries with people who get it and who can accept that. And the only people who can handle boundaries are people who've learned about boundaries and about consent and who've done some inner work, especially if the people come from traumatized childhoods. And I can tell you that all four of these ladies that iced me out, I know come from traumatic, abusive childhoods. They were neglected or they were abused, and so they're very sensitive. Now, I don't mind them being sensitive, because the one with the who didn't why I said don't text me good morning, I don't like that. Or I know that she had a very abusive childhood and a couple failed marriages with alcoholics, and I knew that she had abandonment issues. So um, I was very sensitive to her abandonment issues. So when she texted me, I would text her back right away so she wouldn't feel abandoned. And maybe that wasn't good. And I didn't want to tell her I didn't like the good morning text because I was pretty sure she would feel rejected. I was pretty sure she wouldn't be able to handle that. So I didn't tell her for the longest time. But finally, I'm like, I got to tell her. And sure enough, I think she did feel abandoned and rejected by me. And so she ended the friendship. But I don't want to have friends where I have to tiptoe around and I can't tell you how I feel and what's important to me because you haven't dealt with your childhood trauma and your childhood wounds and you haven't learned about boundaries or consent. So that's what I'm going to do from now on with my friends is like, do you know about boundaries? Do you know about consent? How do you handle things so that we can have that discussion ahead of time? So I'm trying to learn from all this, right? And so I think that's good for for all relationships. Let's see, what else did I want to say about that? So that because everybody's it's normal to get triggered, but if we get triggered, how do we repair? Are we going to just cut people out, or are we going to repair? Are we able to repair? And if I end a friendship, why am I ending a friendship? Is it because we just don't have enough in common? Um, is somebody too volatile, or is it just because I just got triggered? You know, um, and those are good things to work on. Let's see. I wanted to say something else. I forgot. Um, so let's see. Yeah, people who've had traumatic childhoods. Now, oh, I will tell you, there was a time right after my when I got divorced that I was very sensitive, and I ended a friendship because I got triggered. So I know what that's like. I was very sensitive. Um, this was right around the time that all these guys I was hooking up with or whatever were blowing me off. Okay, they were blowing me off. I don't mean so many. There were a few, okay? And I was very hurt. And I was also in the process of having female friends. And when my female friends blew me off, it was just too much. It was too much. I was like, I want I want to have my female friends that get back to me because women always do get back to me, but I had this one friend who was a neighbor and we did some bike rides together, and she was a mom, she had a few kids, she worked full time, and when I would text her, sometimes she would wait days to get back to me, and because I think she was just very busy with her work and her kids, and I took that personally. I took that very personally. And one day I texted her and I said, I don't like that you're not getting back to me. I don't want to be friends anymore. Rather than having a discussion with her and all of that, I just couldn't handle it at the time, to be honest. I didn't have the bandwidth for that. I have another friend who would wait days to get back to me, and I actually said something to her. I said, "Oh, I expressed a need, right? Like, oh, I would like if you would get back to me, or why didn't you reply to that text?" And she said, "Oh, I didn't know you needed a reply. I don't reply to text unless it seems like there's a need for a reply." Oh, okay. So I think it's really good to have these kinds of discussions because otherwise people can go through years of being friends and they're just fake friends. They're just nice to your face while deep down they're really angry with you. So um, that's why I'm like, these people who ice me out, I'm like, I thought we had a bond and I make one request and they're like, bye, see you later, I never want to see you again. It's like, I don't get it. But I think that they just really triggered. I know that when I was working with my Pilates instructor, there were a few times I was really triggered, like this emotion welled up in me. It was so powerful. And I had the feeling of like, I just want to run away. But I was able to calm myself and stay with it. I should have, at the moment, expressed to her that this is very difficult how you're coaching me and how you're talking to me, but I didn't. I should have. But when I get that feeling of I just want to run away, I can calm myself down. But I don't think everybody can. That's the thing, and that's the thing that ruins relationships. Not just between women, but in couples. What ruins relationships is people's inability to deal with their feelings. They get their feelings hurt, and then they retaliate or they shut down, or they try to control the other person. And it weakens the bond, it weakens the attraction, it weakens the relationship, because now you have people that are just basically alone or going through the motions, and it takes the juice out of their relationship. So I'm a big believer in, if I'm going to be in a relationship, it's got to be authentic. It has to be kind and caring and authentic, and it has to have elements of growth and elements of repair. And not everybody is able to repair, and not everybody wants to repair. Now, another thing I will say about boundaries is when I give people boundaries, some people can handle them very well. They're like, oh, thank you for letting me know. Great, I'm glad to know this. And other people will say, wow, that's really controlling. They think that a boundary is controlling because they're not able to do whatever they want or say whatever they want. They see it as a control mechanism. But other people can handle it very easily. But then there are other people who keep pushing back and pushing back. And that's the experience I had in my family. And I think that's why I use the word boundary rather than just saying, this is what I would like. Because my experience in my family is if I give them a boundary, they fucking ignore it. They ignore it over and over and over, because I grew up in a family that didn't have boundaries, you know? We didn't ever talk about boundaries, and my mom and my sister never learned about boundaries. So I give them a boundary and they just ignore it. So I've had to teach them about boundaries by giving them consequences, you know? If you're going to keep calling me after 9 o'clock, I just won't talk to you. You know, I've requested that you call me earlier in the day, so I just won't pick up the phone. I won't talk to you. It's disrespectful, you know. My mom has a habit of sending me these certain emails about things she's passionate about that I don't want to hear about. And it took me years of I blocked her on my emails, and she thought she was helping me. She didn't understand boundaries. She really thought she was helping me by warning me about these certain things. And I was just annoyed. And I think I was annoyed because that was the way she bonded with me, is warning me about things rather than really caring how I felt. But now I just ignore her emails, and she's cut them way back. But she wasn't able to hold that boundary. So I think because of my experience with boundaries, and so many people just like, oh, but please, not honoring my boundary. I like to use the word boundary to let people know that I'm serious. Like, don't fuck around with this. You know, this is serious. And then if people will just say, thank you for letting me know, we're good. But if they get triggered by that, or they want to ignore it, well, the friendship is just gone. I guess that's why I need to have a discussion with my friends, I'm going to have a discussion with around the word boundary, what they think it means, how they like to honor it, because I don't want people to get triggered by that word anymore, and I want to make sure that we're on the same page. But people who have had traumatic childhoods get triggered very easily. They're very emotionally sensitive. And I know on videos I've watched about people with, I'm not saying these ladies have this, but as an example, People with borderline personality disorder have a smaller amygdala and it's constantly active, and they feel everything times 100. And I imagine anyone who was raised in a traumatic childhood, it changes your brain. And so their emotional center is probably more active and less able to self regulate. And so when they feel flooded with emotion, their thing is like, I have to get away. For my safety and for my self protection, I have to get away. This is too much to handle. And so, in order to be powerful in our friendships, I think that one important thing to work on is emotional self regulation and being able to healthily express boundaries without exploding all over people in a volatilely or aggressively, hitting them or yelling at them or icing them out. I'm done with you. And reactivity is the downfall of relationships, and reactivity isn't just yelling, it's also, I don't want to talk about it. That's reactivity. And that is what ruined my marriage. And that I don't like when I get reactive because I'm calm and I'm happy, but sometimes I get triggered and I don't like that. So it's something I've been working on for years, and it's not easy, and I've been consciously working on it. And like Eckhart Tolle talks about, when you get triggered, you have to feel it in your body. You have to be able to not react in the moment, but that's hard, especially with anger. Anger is the hardest one. And so people who have a lot of repressed anger have a really hard time. They'll either instantly shut down or they'll start yelling. And I can feel it when my anger comes up, and when my anger comes up, I will use the word boundary to give people, like, or I will say, I don't like this. I don't want this to happen again. I've gotten better, but the thing about anger is, if you allow yourself to feel anger, a lot of people don't. They say they're not angry because they do this, they shut down, but that's anger. And depression is anger turned inward. Everybody's got anger, but some people turn it inward into depression or being walled off or saying, I don't feel any anger. That's bullshit. And then other people just yell because anger comes up so quick. It comes up quicker than the other feelings, and it tends to overwhelm. But the way to get kind of a handle on it is to start having some inner awareness and feeling it and doing some parts work. Okay, there's a part of me that's angry, but there's a part of me, the wise adult, that's going to calm that anger down and before I make a response. It's hard, you guys. And that's why a lot of relationships, I had someone leave a comment that, oh yeah, I see so many happy couples in the park, happy relationships are possible. I'm sorry, I think you're fooled. People send out their representatives in public. People act all nice and lovey-dovey in public. It's an act. And then behind closed doors, he's an alcoholic who abuses his wife. You don't know how people really are getting along. Most people are in shitty relationships. They're not fucking because they're bored, and they're bored because they're not authentic. They're not able to regulate their emotions. And that's why I want to work on my friendships, because I want to learn this stuff, and it's not easy. I get triggered. I get triggered too. There's nothing wrong with being triggered. It's normal that we get triggered. But what we have to work on, I believe, is how we handle that. Can I calm myself down? Can I express my needs? Can I repair the relationship? And those are, I think that's where therapy is really good, to feel safe in ourselves, to feel safe expressing ourselves, and to not be responsible for the emotional regulation of other people, and to not be in relationships with people who are volatile or shut down. So I'm only interested in being in relationships with people who want to approach relationships the same way that I'm approaching. Authentically, with a growth mindset, not running away from things. That's, what I'm looking for, and those are the friendships that I'm forging. And fortunately, a few of my friends have done all this work, so I don't have to be afraid that they're going to blow up at the littlest thing, So anyway, these are just things that probably a lot of us didn't grow up with, you know. So a lot of us, I think, grew up in boundaryless homes where people could just say and do whatever, and we didn't talk about respecting people's boundaries. When I gave my mom a boundary or not sending me those emails, she finally respected that more or less. And that doesn't the lady who made the rand video was upset because I didn't want to have her discuss her religion with me. That's a boundary. That's a legitimate boundary. And I have boundaries like that in my family. My brother does not like me to talk about any dating stuff. So around him, I don't talk about dating stuff. You know, that's an example. My mom doesn't like me to talk. Well, I have my own boundaries. Like around my kids, I don't talk about my sex life. That's my own boundary. But if my kids were to say, "Mom, I don't want to hear about this," I wouldn't talk about it. Thank you for telling me that you don't want to hear about it. We have to be able to regulate some very basic things, and not everybody is capable of friendship at that level. Not everybody is capable of relationships. It takes a certain skill set. Anyway, so that's just the video I wanted to make. And I will keep you guys posted. I hope you guys have happy holidays. And please, in the comments, leave me anything you might want to say around boundaries, about getting triggered, how you handle that. I want to know how you handle boundaries, how you express your boundaries, how you respond when people share their boundaries with you, how you handle being triggered. Are you in touch with your anger? That's the hardest one. Yeah, stuff like that. Thank you for watching my video.